Hey, so we're back in Spiral Abyss, this time in floor 12. This is going to be a full guide for floor 12. The left side of the screen is going to show you the floor layout, which shows the spawn points and waves if there are any, and the right side of the screen shows you the total number of enemies on the floor. For teams, Cryo characters are definitely the best in the first half, Electro and Pyro characters are better in the second half. If you have Chongyun, definitely put him in the first half, because like in floor 11, he is the MVP. So starting with the first chamber, we're going to have 2 Pyro Wildflowers and a Primo Geobishop. That will later change into the Electro type. At the start, run to the back of the room like I just did to make sure, or to force the Wildflowers to teleport to the back of the room. This way you can isolate them. So I use Jean to push them over, because you want to take out these guys first. They are the most annoying enemies on this chamber, on this floor. So take them out first. One important thing to note is that when you're fighting them, there is still the glitch in Spiral Abyss that will make enemies reset. So if you're fighting the Wildflowers and all 3 enemies are still alive, but one of the Wildflowers, you don't even know where he is, check the front of the room. If he's over there chilling, that means he reset, and you should probably reset the floor, just retry, restart. If not, then you're good. But that is still a problem, that is still a major bug in this game that has not been fixed yet, so if that does happen to you, just reset the floor. So when they go into their state, their little like shield state, you can use Cryo, you can use Hydro to break it, and once that shield is broken, they will take increased damage. So take them out before, or take them out right away. After a little bit, this Primo Bishop is going to transform into his electric state, and he's just going to be using a lot of Electro moves. There's really not anything special about this one. I would say this is one of the easiest forms of the Primo Geo Bishops. So you can just wail on him. He will be constantly affected by Electro, so if you're using Pyro, you're going to constantly overload. If you're using Cryo, you're going to constantly superconduct. But there's really nothing special about this floor, it's just this guy. The Wildflowers are probably going to be the things that give you the most trouble, so like I said, take them out first. This Bishop is just going to be in your way constantly, so you're probably going to be damaging him while you're damaging the Wildflowers. A couple more hits and he's gone. So then we move on to the second half, which is going to be the exact same thing, but instead of Electro, the Bishop is going to be Hydro, and instead of Pyro Wildflowers, we're going to have Cryo Wildflowers. So the same thing, just move to the back of the room, force them to go to the back as well, and then you can do whatever you want to CC or damage, your choice. And with all Wildflowers, sometimes they will change into their shields phase, like that one just did in the back. When they do that, you can use Pyro, you can use Electro to destroy it, and once it is destroyed, they will take more damage. Take them out while you can. They do have innate resistance to their own element, so use that to your advantage. So this guy will turn into Hydro. If you have a Ganyu, if you do happen to have Ganyu, put her in the second half, not just for this guy, but for the second chamber, which is not necessarily a Ganyu check, but like it definitely helps if you have Ganyu. So like the other one, this guy is going to be constantly infused with his own element. Periodically, they're going to see this little aura of Hydro around you, and when you see that, eventually you're going to get struck by a water jet from the bottom, or from below your character, which will do damage. You can just dodge out of the way of that. No big deal. But like I said, because he's constantly affected with Hydro, you can use Pyro pretty effectively, and also Electro, and also freeze him, if you want. So with that, we're done, and we move on to the second chamber. This is your Venti room. If you have Venti, go for it. So right at the start, there's going to be a ton of treasure hoarders. I'm going to run over to the left or to the right, push this Potioneer to the other side, because these guys are the most annoying of the enemies on this floor. So take them out first, because they're just going to constantly throw their potions, which these ones are Pyro and Hydro. Coupled with the Electro Sissenbats, you're going to constantly see Overload, constantly see Electro Charge, so get rid of the other elements on this floor. So on this floor also, there's that little Electro what do you even call it? Like it's not even a turret, it's just a thing there that will constantly infuse Electro onto the enemies. Well, not constantly, but like periodically it will. And once that happens, you want to use either Cryo or Pyro to get rid of it. Otherwise, they will take reduced damage, I believe, and they also have increased resistance to interruption. So if you actually let that stand, you're going to have a bad time. Take that out as quick as possible. I'm not entirely sure if Hydro works. It might, but just use Pyro and Cryo just to be sure. And once we take out that first wave of enemies, the second wave is going to spawn. It's going to be the exact same thing, but instead of Pyro and Hydro Potioneers, they are going to be Electro. And if you do get frozen on this floor, it's because of the Sissin Bats. On the left side are Hydro Sissin Bats, and on the right side are Cryo Sissin Bats. And they are probably the most annoying thing, because as far as I know, Venti doesn't actually suck up the Sissin Bats with his ult. I don't know if that's true. I read that. I don't have Venti to test that, but just be aware of that if you are using him on this floor. Otherwise, the same thing as the first wave. Sometimes they will get affected with Electro and take reduced damage, so just make sure you have Cryo on deck, or Pyro. But I think Cryo works a little bit better, just because we have Chongyun. But like I said, this is the CC floor. Bring your best form of CC if you are worried about speed. Sucrose works very well here. You can also use Animo Traveler. And with that, we're moving on to the second half, which is probably the worst one of this entire floor. We're going to have Hydro Mimics. So right at the start, we're going to have these two squirrels at the front, along with a Hydro Abyss Mage with a Hydro Aura. If you are using Zhongli here, definitely, if you do have Zhongli, definitely use him here, because this is probably his best half. Because these mimics do a ton of damage, especially those ducks. Try not to be as close together with them as possible. Definitely take out the Hydro Abyss Mage as quick as you can, because he will periodically create these Hydro Bubbles, which are just really annoying to run into, and as long as he's dead, they're not going to appear anymore. So just get him out of the way just to get rid of the annoyance. And one thing to note is that these squirrels and boars will periodically regen HP. I don't know who at Mihoyo thought that was a good idea, to have enemies regen HP based on their max HP, and then put them in the Spiral Abyss floor that gives them the most amount of max HP. I don't know, this Spiral Abyss is something, dude. So you can take out the boars. Like I said, Electro is very good here, and so is Pyro, because with Pyro you can constantly vaporize. With Electro you can constantly Electro Charge. Beto is actually very strong on this floor. If you do have her, consider using her here. Otherwise, it's just slowly chipping away at these guys. Once you kill this first wave, the second wave is going to spawn with less enemies and less severe or less strong enemies. At the top, you're going to have a Pyro Abyss Mage with a Pyro Aura, but not the one that like chases with a fireball that chases you around. It's just the one that like constantly damages you while you're in the radius. And two crabs. The crabs actually go down pretty easily as long as you have your ults ready. And then from there, you can focus on the Pyro Abyss Mage. Once I take down his shield, I actually focus on these birds in the back, just because these cranes have way less HP. And once the Abyss Mage is out of his shield, he is stunned for a pretty long time, so you can honestly run over there, kill the cranes in the time that he's stunned, and then come back. Because like I said, cranes have significantly less HP, take them out pretty quickly, go back and kill the Pyro Mage. So with that, we move on to the Chamber 3, which is going to be two Abyss Lectors. Now, Abyss Lectors are infinitely easier than Abyss Heralds, simply because they don't move. Abyss Heralds will constantly move all over the place, using different attacks that just move them across the entire room. Abyss Lectors are really nice, and they just stay in the same spot. So, you can do what I'm doing here, is just push them together, using either elemental skills. Some elemental skills would do it, some charge attacks can do it. Your ults, the initial usage of an ult, will push back enemies, so use that to your advantage. Push them together as often as possible, because like I said, they're not going to move. So as long as they're together, you can constantly wall up on them for pretty much the entire floor. So right here, they are right next to each other. You can use Cryo and Hydro to constantly freeze them, like I am here. And like Abyss Heralds, Abyss Lectors will go into their quote-unquote shield phase when you drop them down to about 20 or 15% HP. With Abyss Heralds, they got a Hydro Shield, and with Abyss Lectors, they're going to get Electro Shields. And once they put up their shield, they're only going to be damaged by elements. They're not actually going to take damage, but only their shield will take damage. So because these guys have Electro Shields, we want to be using Cryo or Pyro. You can technically use Hydro, but I think Cryo and Pyro do a little bit more damage. If you have Klee or if you have Yanfei, you can definitely use them here. I'm using Chongyun here because Chongyun is a little bit more accessible than the others, and a ton of Cryo application is definitely very good, as you can see what I'm doing here. So from here, it's just constantly swapping back and forth. Whenever Chongyun's skill is off cooldown, make sure to use it. If you are using Kaya here, like I am, just his skill is on a very short cooldown, so you can constantly use that. The attacks of these guys will constantly lower your energy. They do drain energy with some of their attacks, so we want to be constantly using our elemental skills, and Kaya and Chongyun are definitely better for that. But like I said, you can use Pyro if you want. And with that, we move on to the second half of Chamber 3, which is going to have a Pyro Agent at the top, a Cryo System Mage on the left, and an Electro System Mage on the right. So right at the start, you're going to want to kill the Pyro Agent first, because he does have a Pyro Aura below him. This Pyro Aura will have that fireball that chases you around constantly, so take him out as soon as possible, because that is very annoying. You are going to be dealing with System Mages and, by extension, System Bats, so make sure you can deal with those guys. Like I said, Zhongli definitely works better here because of his shields. You can just ignore all of that and just focus on the Pyro Agent. Other than that, there's really nothing special about these guys. We've fought them a ton. They do have lowered physical resistance, so if you are using a physical carry or a physical DPS, consider using them here. Once we kill the Pyro Agent, all we have left are the two System Mages. I would say to go after the Electro System Mage first, just because the Cryo System Mage is almost always going to have her shield up, and unless you kill her bats, she's going to constantly have her shield up. Electro System Mage doesn't have anything else besides her teleport, which is definitely very annoying, but it's less annoying than the Cryo System Mage, I would say. Or trying to fight a Cryo System Mage while an Electro System Mage is after you. So once we have this System Mage down, you can just focus on the Cryo System Mage, and like I said, her shield, the Cryo System Mage's shield, will always be up as long as she has her System Bats alive, so kill her bats before you actually go after her. Sometimes she will put up her shield even when no bats are alive. If she does do that, her shield is actually very low HP and it's actually very easy to destroy. Once you actually do destroy it, just constantly wall up on her, because as long as you keep her CC'd or stunned in some kind of way, she won't actually summon her System Bats because she just won't have the opportunity to summon them. And like the others, she does have reduced physical resistance, so use that to your advantage if you want to. Other than that, nothing really too special with these kind of enemies, so just a couple more hits and she's done. And with that, that is going to be the end of the video. Hopefully this helped you. If you enjoyed the video, hope you're having a fantastic day. Like and subscribe if you want. I would really appreciate it. Tickle my bell while you're at it, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.